Hey team. So I know that this is really late in the year and I apologize for that, but I just wanted to give you a quick overview of the Canva SAT preparation materials. And then talk for a moment about what quizzes is and how that can best support our students. So right now I'm in the editing mode of our weekly lessons. They are designed this semester to be fairly brief. So students shouldn't have to interact with more than like 20 pages on Tuesday, and ideally somewhere closer to like 10. So this is the first link that they receive when they, once they have the 10 URL. So I'm going to tap this. It's the same thing, but just to open it in the student mode. So on the next page, you're going to see me talk about just like give an introduction to the week. And I want to show y'all how students can access the captions at the bottom of the screen in case they want to view this in another language. So right here, I'm starting to talk, and my captions automatically showed up. But if a student has headphones and they are not automatically seeing these, they should go down to, if you hover over the bottom of the screen, you can see there's a little captions button that looks like that. So students can tap that, and then if they are using the translation, we'll automatically be able to see these in whatever language they choose. And the idea is that the text on the screen should also be able to be translated. Now I'm viewing it in Spanish. And then going into the rest of the lesson, I've stopped in a couple of classrooms where we've had questions about what students are doing on Tuesday. So on Tuesday, I do want to point out that students should be taking notes on each lesson. So if they are doing this in a separate document, great. If they're just reading through the pages and answering the infrequent poll questions that are on there or quiz questions, that's fine as well. Really, it's meant to be a day where they can learn, study, and get a little bit of practice in before they complete a quiz on the materials on Wednesday. On Tuesdays, it is really important that we are circulating and making sure that students are interacting with the materials, that they're accessing the materials okay, and then doing our best to support any questions as they arise. So this week we had two lessons, one on Proportional Relationships 101 and one on the second part of Proportional Relationships. So if I go into the 101 lesson, you'll see down here this is only 5 pages. So it's a lot of information that's been condensed into just a few pages. So students are going to probably be using the full amount of time in order to read all of the information, all the materials, and then maybe jot down notes on the key terms. So if nothing else, I think it would be most beneficial to write down the notes from the summary, which we'll see in the next part of the lesson. Here we go. So for part 2, same thing. Students are going to see a couple of example questions, and then on the examples, they do see the answers. So ideally, they are taking a look at the full question, doing their best to give it a guess, and then they can go to the next page and they can see how they did. In addition to that, they're typically pretty detailed notes, especially on these math questions, breaking down what you would write down on your scratch paper on the test. And then this is the summary that I just mentioned. So these contain the key terms, ideas, and the things that it is most important for students to know on the exam, the most basic information that will connect to the broadest range of questions. Ask them to write that down. unless they've seen this before, or if they're in SAT prep, then maybe they've already taken notes on this, but more than likely they could have a document open. And then the drill questions are included so students can get some practice in before the Wednesday quiz. Oftentimes, one or two of these questions are included on the quiz with the addition of some testing of the key terms and then something from College Board under the same category of questions. So this is an example of a question where students can interact, and when they do, they'll submit their answers, and it will tell them if they got it correct or not. This is not as in-depth as the quiz because they don't get an explanation after. But students who are in SAT prep, if they're feeling a little bit more advanced and they want some extra practice in the time allowed in advisory, they're more than welcome to go find these topics on the Princeton Review portal, and they can practice there. That's pretty much it. So going back to this original lesson, the codes are available on Wednesday. So we should be inviting students to go back into this if they want to review before completing the quiz, or they can take a look at the code that they will have access to in the advisory presentation. Another thing that is helpful as we gear up for the test in a couple of weeks is that the Desmos graphing calculator has been linked for a couple of weeks now. Students should have this open and should be actively practicing with this, especially on quizzes, because they do not have access to a graphing calculator on quizzes, but they will have access to it on the test. So these are the instructions that I just reviewed, how to translate your screen on Canva. And then on quizzes, although this is not a perfect system yet, in terms of translating things that have been included from other sources, it does do a pretty good job of offering a variety of languages and translations for things that have been manually inserted into the application. So if your student is really not wanting to interact with the quiz or the lessons, please show them these translation options and see if that makes the content more accessible, more engaging, and more interesting to interact with. And then before I go, I'm going to leave you with my email one more time. So if you have any questions, please let me know. Send me a chat. It is Elizabeth with a Z, ELIZABETH _man with 2 N's. So MANN at dpsk12.net. And I am linked in the advisory emails each week. And I would love to support any questions that you have. So thank you very much for your time, and I will see you soon.